I worked since 16, paid $80,000 on my student loan. Meanwhile, my sister got a fully paid college and a new car. Now they want me to buy her a $350,000 apartment. You could easily afford it. I didn't argue. I just disappeared. I stared at the screen showing my bank account balance. And for the first time in 8 years, I felt like I could actually breathe $0 owed on my student loans. After 12 years since I first signed those papers, I was finally free. My name is Ruby. I'm 30 years old, and I just paid off $80,000 in student debt. You heard that? Right? What started as $60,000 for college turned into $80,000 with all the interest. But I did it 3 years faster than I thought I would thanks to landing a solid job right out of college at a software development company. I logged out of my bank account, grabbed my keys, and headed to the liquor store. Back in my rental apartment, I poured myself a glass and sat on my couch. The place wasn't much: one bedroom, decent kitchen, nothing special. But it was mine. And, more importantly, I could afford it without drowning in debt. You're probably wondering why I'm celebrating alone. That's a long story, but I'll give you the short version. My family and I don't exactly have what you'd call a close relationship. My parents, Linda and Frank, pretty much forgot I existed when my little sister Emma was born. She's 24 now. And let me tell you, the difference in how they treated us was like night and day. I remember this one Christmas. When I was maybe 14 and Emma was 8, I had saved up money from babysitting to buy everyone gifts. I was so excited to give them out. Emma opened hers. First, some art supplies. I thought she'd like. My parents went crazy over how thoughtful it was. Then Emma gave me this keychain. She obviously grabbed from the dollar store at the last minute. My parents acted like she had handcrafted something amazing. Look how creative Emma is. My mom gushed. She picked this out all by herself. That was pretty much my entire childhood. Emma was the star. I was the background character. I got used to it, I guess, focused on school, spent my afternoons in programming classes after regular school ended. I had this dream of going to MIT or Stanford somewhere that would show everyone I was worth something. I worked my ass off. By senior year, I had the grades to get into some really good schools. When the acceptance letter came from Tech University, not MIT but damn close, I was over the moon. They even offered me a partial scholarship covering 40% of tuition. I still needed $60,000 for the remaining 4 years, but I figured my parents would help. They always talked about the importance of education, right? I'll never forget that dinner conversation. I was so nervous and excited. I could barely eat. Finally, I cleared my throat and said, I got into tech. My dad looked up from his phone. That's the expensive one, right? But I got a scholarship, 40% covered. I only need $60,000 total. My mom stopped cutting Emmy's meat and stared at me. $60,000. Ruby, we don't have that kind of money. I know it's a lot, but maybe we could look into parent loans. Or if you were really smart, you would have gotten a full scholarship. My dad interrupted. Obviously, you're not as bright as you think you are. Emma, who was 12 and barely passing her classes, looked at me with this smug little smile. Even then, she knew she was the favorite. But this is my chance, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. This school could change my whole life. Computer science program is amazing, and I know I can get a great job afterward, then figure out how to pay for it yourself. My dad said, going back to his phone, we're not signing any loans either, too risky. Tried arguing for weeks. I showed them statistics about graduates from my program. Starting salaries, job placement rates, nothing worked. They weren't budging. The only person who supported me was my grandmother, my dad's mom. Grandma Rose had always been different from the rest of the family. She actually listened when I taught. Remember things that mattered to me. When I told her about the college situation, she was furious. Those idiots, she muttered, shaking her head. They don't know what they're throwing away. It's okay, Grandma, I lied. Maybe I can go to community college first. Like, hell, you got into that fancy school fair and square? You'll find a way. I applied for federal student loans, got approved for the full amount I needed. The payments would be deferred until 6 months after graduation, which gave me time to figure things out. The day I left for college, I packed my car with everything I owned. My parents were getting Emma ready for some school event. I don't even remember what bye I called from the front door. I'm leaving now. Drive safe. My mom called back without coming to see me off. That was it? No hugs, no tears, no. We're proud of you. Just drive safe like I was going to the grocery store. Emma didn't even say goodbye, but Grandma Rose was there. She hugged me tight and pressed an envelope into my hands. For emergencies, she whispered inside was $200, probably all she could spare on her fixed income. College was tough as hell, but I made it work. I got a job at the campus computer lab within my first week. 20 hours a week at minimum wage wasn't much, but it covered food and basic expenses. I also tutored other students in math and programming between classes, work, and studying. I barely had time to sleep, but I kept my grades up. I had to losing my scholarship would have been a disaster. The whole time Grandma Rose was my lifeline. Every month like clockwork, get a card from her with $50 or $100 tucked inside. She'd call me every Sunday to check in my parents. Meanwhile, acted like I didn't exist. I called them on holidays and birthdays, Christmas, Easter, their birthdays. Emma's birthday. Conversations were always the same. Hi, Mom, just calling to wish you a happy birthday. Ruby, thanks, how's school it's going? Well, Dean's List again. That's nice. Emma just got elected to student council. That would be at 5 minutes tops. They never asked about my major, my job, my friends, or anything real about my life. Senior year rolled around and I was killing it. I had job interviews lined up with 3 different tech companies. My professors were writing me stellar recommendation letters. I was finally seeing light at the end of the tunnel. Graduation day was a big deal. Families everywhere, taking pictures, crying, happy tears. I looked around for my parents, even though deep down I knew they wouldn't be there. The phone call came the night before graduation. Hi, honey. Congratulations on graduating tomorrow. Thanks. Are you guys driving up in the morning? There was a pause, Ruby. I'm so sorry. We had already planned this vacation with Emma. It's our spring break, and we booked this cruise months ago. You understand, right? I was quiet for a long moment. Mom, I understand. But Grandma Rose was there. She drove 4 hours by herself and sat in the audience beaming at me, like I just won the Nobel Prize. After the ceremony, she took me out to dinner at the fanciest restaurant in town. 3 weeks after graduation, I landed the job with Soft Def Solutions. The salary was more money than I'd ever seen, $65,000 to start with room for growth. I was over the moon. I moved back to my hometown and stayed with Grandma Rose for 6 months while I saved up for my own place. It was the best 6 months I'd had in years. We'd cook dinner together, watch old movies, and talk about everything and nothing. During that time, I saw my parents exactly twice, both times when they came to visit Grandma Rose. The conversations were awkward and forced. So, you're working now at a software company downtown. That's good, steady income. And that was pretty much it. They spent the rest of the visit talking to Grandma Rose about Emma's college plans. After 6 months, I found a decent 1-bedroom apartment and moved out on my own. Grandma Rose helped me pick out furniture and even gave me some dishes and kitchen stuff she wasn't using. The loan payment started 6 months after graduation, and they hit hard. $600 a month every month. For 10 years. If I paid the minimum, I decided, right? Then I wasn't going to drag this out. I lived cheap, drove a used car, and threw every extra dollar at those loans. Meanwhile, Grandma Rose kept me updated on family news whether I wanted to hear it or not. Emma got into state university full tuition. Your parents suddenly found money for her education. I had to sit down full tuition. How did they manage that? Got a second mortgage on the house, said it was an investment in Emma's future. The same parents who told me I wasn't smart enough for a full scholarship and they didn't have money for my education had somehow found a way to pay for Emma's entire college experience. Over the years, Grandma Rose told me about other things too. They bought Emma a brand new Honda when she turned 21. Then they paid for her trip to Hawaii after she graduated, saying she worked hard and deserved a good vacation. I listened to all of this calmly because I was used to the favoritism by then. But now back to the present. I'm sitting here with my glass of wine. Finally, free of that debt. Picked up my phone and called Grandma Rose. Grandma, guess what? I just paid off my student loans. We need to celebrate properly. Come over Saturday for dinner. I'll make all your favorite dishes. Saturday came and I stopped by the store on my way to Grandma's house. I picked up a nice bottle of wine and that Tina casserole from the deli that she always raved about. She could never figure out their secret ingredient, but she loved it. When I got to her house, Grandma Rose had gone all out. The dining room table was set with her good china, and the whole place smelled amazing. She'd made pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans, and even baked rolls. We sat down and started eating, talking, and laughing, like we always did. About 20 minutes in, there was a knock at the front door. Who could that be? Grandma Rose muttered, getting up to answer it. I heard voices at the door and froze my parents. They were talking to Grandma Rose, and she was inviting them in Great Ruby's. Here. I heard her say, "We're having dinner." My parents walked into the dining room, like nothing was weird about showing up unannounced. My mom gave me a quick nod, and my dad just said, "Ruby, hi Mom, hi Dad, sorry to interrupt." My mom said, though, she didn't look sorry at all. We were in the neighborhood and thought we'd stop by Grandma Rose, being the polite person. She always was. Immediately started setting extra places. There's plenty of food. Please sit down and join us. My mom's eye swept over the table. The good china, the wine, all the food. What's the occasion? This looks like a celebration. I felt trapped. I didn't want to tell them, but Grandma Rose was looking at me expectantly, and there was no way around it. I just paid off my student loans, I said. My parents exchanged a look. One of those quick glances that married couples do when they're thinking the same thing. Already, my dad asked, "How did you manage to pay them off so fast?" Before I could answer, Grandma Rose jumped in proudly. "Ruby works for a very prestigious company and earns excellent money. She's done so well for herself." Another look passed between my parents, but this time they didn't ask any follow-up questions. They just nodded and started eating the food Grandma Rose had put in front of them. 2 weeks passed after that awkward dinner at Grandma Rose's house, and I didn't hear a word from my parents, which was pretty normal, actually. But then my phone rang on a Tuesday evening while I was making dinner. "Ruby, it's Mom. Your father and I were talking, and we realized we haven't seen you in a while. We'd like to have you over for dinner this weekend to chat and reconnect." She hung up and I stood there staring at my phone. Something was definitely going on. My parents didn't do family dinners. They didn't do reconnecting, but I was curious enough to go along with it. Saturday rolled around, and I drove to my childhood home. Nothing had changed much. Same beige siding, same overgrown hedges. Same driveway, where my dad always parked his truck at an angle. I knocked on the front door, which felt weird since I used to live there. "Ruby, come in," my mom said way too cheerfully. Emma was already there, sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I walked in, and I could see her taking in my outfit, just jeans and a simple sweater from Target. Her eyebrows went up slightly like she was judging me. "Hey, Emma," I said. "Hey," she replied without much enthusiasm. She was wearing designer jeans that probably cost more than my entire outfit. And she had some kind of expensive smartwatch on her wrist. Her phone looked brand new, too. Couldn't help but wonder who was paying for all that stuff. "Dinner is almost ready," my mom announced. "Ruby, tell us about work. How's the job going?" "Here we go." "I thought it's going well." "I like what I do." "That's great." My dad chimed in from the kitchen. "Software development, right? That's where the money is these days, I guess." "So, what kind of projects do you work on?" My mom asked. "Does she set plates on the table?" I gave them a basic rundown of my work. Thing too detailed, just enough to be polite. Kept asking questions. How big was the company? How many people in my department? Did I work with any major clients? "You must be doing pretty well for yourself," my dad said, sitting down across from me. "I paying off those loans so fast that couldn't have been easy. I just tried to live within my means and put extra money toward the payments." They exchanged. Those looks, again, the same ones from dinner at Grandma Rose's house. The conversation moved on to other topics, but I could feel them watching me like they were trying to figure something out. Emma kept making little comments about my clothes, my car, nothing outright mean, just these passive-aggressive observations. "So, you're still renting that place downtown?" She asked. "It works for me. Isn't rent kind of expensive there?" "You could probably buy something for what you're paying." Maybe someday. Another look between my parents. A few days later, they even showed up at my apartment unannounced, saying they wanted to see where I lived. They walked around asking questions about rent, utilities, the neighborhood. Emma kept making comments about how cute everything was, but her tone suggested otherwise. The whole visit felt like they were evaluating something. After they left, I was more confused than ever. What was with all the sudden interest in my life and finances? Time passed, and I kept wondering what they were really after. Then one day, I went to visit Grandma Rose like I always did. We were having tea in her kitchen when she got the serious look on her face. "Ruby, I need to tell you something, and you're not going to like it." Put down my cup. "What is it?" "Grandma?" "My friend Margaret lives next door to your parents. She called me yesterday because she overheard something she thought I should know about, overheard what Grandma Rose said. She was in her backyard gardening when she heard your parents talking loudly on their back porch. They were talking about how to convince you to buy an apartment for Emma. Your father said you have no student loans anymore, you make good money, and you don't have a boyfriend spending your money. Your mother agreed and said you should help your sister since you have all this extra income." Everything clicked into place. The sudden dinner invitations, the questions about my salary, the visit to my apartment, they'd been sizing me up, figuring out how much money I had, so they could ask me to pay for Emma's housing. "Can't believe this," I said, shaking my head after everything, after ignoring me my whole life. "Now they want my money. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I debated whether to tell you, but I thought you deserved to know." "No, I'm glad you told me. Now I understand what's going on." "What are you going to do?" Thought for a moment. "I'm going to pretend I don't know anything, but I need to make some plans of my own." "What kind of plans?" "I've been thinking about this for a while. Actually, my boss had mentioned a few months ago that they were expanding and might need people to transfer to their new branch in Colorado. I think it's time for a change of scenery." I said the next Monday at work. I knocked on my boss's door. "Mike, remember, when you mentioned the Colorado branch might need people positions still available. Let me make some calls, but I think we can make that work. When would you want to start?" "As soon as possible." 2 days later, Mike confirmed everything. They wanted me in Colorado within a month. The salary was even better than what I was making here, and they'd help with relocation expenses. That evening, I drove to Grandma Rose's house to tell her, "Colorado," she said, looking sad. "That's so far away." "I know, Grandma, I hate to leave you, but I can't stay here and deal with my parents trying to manipulate me into paying for Emma's life. You can't tell anyone about this, okay? Not until I'm gone. My lips are sealed, but I'll miss you terribly." "I'll miss you too, but we can talk on the phone and maybe you can come visit me sometime." She hugged me tight. "You do what you need to do. I'll always support you." Over the next few weeks, I quietly started preparing for the move. I gave my landlord notice, started packing little by little, and made arrangements with a moving company. I was careful not to let anyone see what I was doing. Meanwhile, my parents kept calling asking when I wanted to come over for dinner again. They said they had something important to discuss with me. I knew exactly what they wanted to discuss, and I played along telling them I'd been busy with work but would try to make time soon. 3 weeks into my secret preparations, my phone rang. It was my mom, and she sounded more determined than usual. "Ruby, we really need to have that dinner. We've been talking about this weekend. It's important. I'll be there." I said. Saturday came, and I drove to their house knowing this would probably be the last time I'd see them for a very long time. Maybe ever. I had already given my landlord notice the moving truck was scheduled for Monday, and my flight to Colorado was booked for Tuesday morning. Emma was already at the table when I arrived, practically bouncing in her seat with excitement. My parents both looked nervous but determined. "Ruby," my mom said after we'd all sat down with our plates, "we have something important to ask you," I said, cutting my chicken and trying to look innocent. "Emma has been looking at apartments. My dad started, and we found this perfect place for her. Really nice building, great location." Emma jumped in. "It's amazing, Ruby. 2 bedrooms, granite countertops, a balcony with a city view. The building has a gym and a rooftop deck." "Sounds expensive," I said. That's the thing, my mom said, exchanging a look with my dad. "The apartment costs $350,000. We've been looking at the finances and we just don't have the money for a down payment and mortgage right now. Here it comes." I thought we were hoping. My dad continued that maybe you could help Emma out, co-sign the mortgage. Or maybe even handle the payments for her. Put down my fork and looked at all 3 of them. Emma was grinning, like she'd already gotten what she wanted. My parents were watching me expectantly. I nodded slowly, like I was considering it. $350,000. The mortgage would probably be around $3,000 a month. My dad said, "But you're making good money now, and you don't have any major expenses. No student loans, no boyfriend to spend money on. You could easily afford it." Casual way he dismissed my entire life as having no major expenses almost made me lose it right there. But I kept my cool. What I said, smiling. "I don't mind helping Emma out." All 3 of their faces lit up. "Really?" Emma squealed. "Ruby, thank you so much. When do you need me to sign the paperwork?" "The appointment with the bank is next Friday at 10 in the morning. My mom said, "We'll meet you there to sign everything." We finished dinner with Emma going on and on about her future apartment, talking about how she was going to decorate it and what furniture she wanted to buy. My parents kept thanking me and saying how proud they were that I was stepping up to help family. I went home that night and finished packing. Everything was ready to go. Monday morning, the moving truck showed up right on schedule. I supervised as they loaded up all my stuff, then handed over the keys to my landlord. By Monday evening, I was staying in a hotel near the airport. Tuesday morning, I was on a plane to Colorado. Company had set me up with a temporary apartment until I could find something permanent. It was nice, way better than my old place. Actually, I spent the day meeting my new coworkers and getting oriented to the office. At exactly 10 o'clock Friday morning, my phone started buzzing. First my mom, then my dad, then Emma. I let them all go to voicemail. Around noon, my mom started testing, "Where are you?" "The bank appointment is waiting." Then Ruby, call us back immediately. "Then you're making us look like idiots. Everyone is here waiting for you." I ignored all of them and went to lunch with my new team. Finally, at 1 o'clock during my lunch break, I answered when my mom called. "Where are you?" she screamed into the phone. "We're all here waiting." That I changed my mind. I'm not paying for Emma's apartment. "Ruby, you can't do this to us." "Actually, I can. This is ridiculous. I'm coming to your apartment right now and dragging you to this bank myself." I burst out laughing. "Good luck with that." "Mom?" "I moved to Colorado. I got transferred to a branch office here. I'm starting my new life, and it doesn't include paying for Emma's lifestyle." My mom was speechless for a few seconds. Then she started yelling again. "You can't just abandon your family. We need you." "You needed my money," I corrected. "There is a difference. You spent my entire life ignoring me, treating me like I didn't matter, refusing to help me when I needed it. Now that you want something from me, suddenly I'm family. That's not true. We've always cared about you. I actually laughed, right? That's why you missed my graduation to take Emma on vacation. That's why you refused to help with my college but took out a second mortgage for hers. That's why you've never called me just to see how I'm doing. Ruby, please. I'm done. Mom, don't call me again. I hung up and blocked all 3 of their numbers. For the next few days, they tried calling from different numbers and sending emails, but I ignored everything. Finally, Grandma Rose called me. How are you settling in? Sweetheart? I'm good. Grandma? Really good. How are things there? Your parents came to see me yesterday. They're furious with you. They wanted me to call you and convince you to come back and help Emma with that apartment. And what did you tell them? I told them this was all their own fault. They ignored you for years, refused to help you when you needed it. Then expected you to hand over hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just because they asked, I told them they were delusion. All good for you. Grandma, they didn't like that very much. Frank actually had the nerve to tell me I should cut off contact with you. If you weren't going to help family. I kicked them out and told not to come back until they were ready to apologize for how they treated you all these years. It's been 6 months now since I moved to Colorado. I love my job, I've made some great friends, and I'm saving money for a down payment on my own house. Grandma Rose visits me every few months and we talk on the phone every week. She told me that Emma never got that apartment and is still living in some rental place. My parents are apparently still angry, but Grandma Rose doesn't care. She said she's tired of their selfishness. I don't miss my old life at all. For the first time ever, I feel like I'm living for myself instead of trying to prove something to people who never cared about me anyway.